Hi everyone, Amber here from So Majestic. Welcome back to my channel. We are on month 8 of Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt. As always, it is the Wild West and I am Team Josie. So I will be sewing up the large size, and for month 8 we have 2 different sections. We have 8A and you will end up with 2 of these. And we have section 8B, which you will also end up with 2 of these. So I hope you find the tutorial helpful. If you do, please consider subscribing or giving me a thumbs up. It does help my channel grow and I appreciate it so much. If you didn't know already, the Puzzle Mystery Quilt Flyway had just shipped in February. I am Team Phoenix, so I will be sewing up a large Phoenix. There are a couple colorways that they are still cutting and shipping, and Phoenix is one of them. So if you have not received your box, if you have signed up for the 10 months coming all together, the prepaid, please don't panic. I will put a link below to Cotton Cuts website. They do have a page. It's like called Where's My Stuff? And it shows you where they are in the cutting and shipping process for everything. If you log into your account, it also shows you shipping and tracking, and you can follow along. And as always, for Wild West and now for Flyway, if you are looking for your clues, they are all in the evidence locker. So if you are considering joining, if you haven't already, my code is AmberFly and you'll get a bonus gift. They are not doing the prepaid now. Now you can only sign up for month to month, where they will ship individually each month. So I hope you're joining in. Let me know in the comments if you are participating in Flyway. And as always, I hope you're enjoying Wild West and enjoy the tutorial. All right, so we are on month 8. So I have my clue, I have my card with the fabrics, and I have all my pieces laid out so I can easily grab them, my pressing mat and mini iron, and then my sewing machine over here. I am sewing on a Singer 5528 using a 7010 universal needle. So, and I also switched today. I'm using some Gutermann thread. And we have the 2 different blocks. So this time we're starting with block A. It has some flying geese. I know those are usually block B, so I'm so excited to see how this really comes together. And as always, it tells you how many to make. And I will be dividing those in half because I'm going to be making one for the tutorial today. So our first step is we need a square F and a square D. So that's the pink and the white. And we are going to sew them right sides together. And again, I'm not clipping. I am just lining them up. I'm only going to clip when it gets to be a larger piece. And even though it's month 8, I still keep my color card close because it's so easy to switch up the fabrics. I find that with this colorway, especially with the 2 different pinks and the orange, I accidentally reverse them a lot. Right. And so we are going to press towards our S square. So that's to the left. We have a lot of pieces for these blocks today, and they are reusing every single fabric in the colorway, which is kind of nice. Okay, so now for step 2, we need a rectangle, a D rectangle to go on top. So I'm just going to, because I am using an exact, like a 1/4 inch, there's a little bit of overhang on each side. So I just kind of center, and then that little overhang will get caught up in the seam allowances, or hidden, I should say, not caught in them. And you can clip this one. I'm not, because I don't have like a point that I really need to make sure that I'm keeping or anything, so. And on this machine, I can't adjust the presser foot pressure. So sometimes it wants to flip my seam allowances back towards me if they're going the other way. So I'm just being very mindful of that while I'm sewing. And now this one, we are pressing our seam allowance down towards our 2 squares. Okay, and I'm just going to set this to the side. We are on step 3 now, and we are going to start our flying geese. And so for this one, there's 4, so I'm actually going to make 2. So I need 2 of my larger A triangles, and then 4 of my smaller B triangles, which is this light pink. And what I'm going to do is just lay them out completely, so that way I'm making sure that I'm grabbing the correct fabrics and in the correct order. And I'm going to, since there's 2 of them, I'm going to chain stitch them. So I like to start on my right hand side when I'm doing flying geese. It doesn't really matter if you start on your right or left. I think just because I'm right-handed. And then I'm not going to take that out yet. I'm going to do my second one. And that way I have, less threads to cut, less waste. And it helps pull the next one through. Sometimes starting on the point in my triangles, it wants to push it down into the feed dogs. So that first piece acts like a leader piece. Okay, and then for these, we are pressing towards the smaller triangles. So again, I always like to press the back side first and then from the front. Right, and so now we're going to repeat that step with the left-hand side. Make sure I'm lining them up. And because they are die cut, they will line up perfectly. Oh, and the same with this one here. Right, and I am pressing the back side first, and then gently opening. All right, so that is step 3. I'm going to set that to the side. We have 2 more flying geese to make. So for step 4, we need a larger B triangle, and then a small F triangle on the left and a small D triangle on the right. And we're making 2 of these for the video. I'll just be doing the one. And if you want to, you could actually even combine steps 3, 4, and 5 where you're doing all the flying geese. So if I were not doing this for the tutorial, I would probably do that and then do all the right hand sides and then the left. But for the tutorial, I'm keeping each step separate just in case. I know some people like to sew along with me, so that way they can go in order. All right, and so now the left-hand side here. Again, just lining them up. Earlier today, I was cutting out some pieces for a quilt that I'm making on my own, and I was just having so much appreciation for Cotton Cuts and the Puzzle Mystery Quilt for doing all the die cutting for us. So I think that's one of my least favorite parts, is having to cut everything out. No matter how careful I am, I still make mistakes and end up wasting fabric. So I definitely appreciate that the Puzzle Mystery Quilts are just cut and ready to go. Okay, I'm gonna set that to the side. So now for our last flying geese, step 5, I need another B larger triangle, so that light pink color if you are doing Team Josie. And then this one's going to have 2 small E triangles, which is the orange. Okay, and again, I'm starting on the right. Wow, I can't believe that this is month 8 already, and then one more month and we're gonna put everything together. I know I said it in the other ones, but these are all rather large blocks, so I'm really excited to see how Wild West comes together. And again, pressing on the right, gently opening. And again, here on the left, we'll line them up. Right, and our last one here, we're pressing open to the left. All right, and so now for step 6, we are joining them up. So we need step 3, which is one of our steps 3 here, and we are putting that at all the way to the right. So I'm going to line them up just like it shows here in the pattern. So it's going to go right next to step 5, which is one of our B triangles, the one that we just did. So I know I'm doing this right so far because I'm making my chevron. And then we need another step 3. And then our step 4. So if I've done this correctly, our step 4 is all the way to the left. I have my small D triangle on top, the F triangle on the bottom. I know that I did this correct because I have a pink B chevron, a orange E chevron, and then another pink chevron with the E fabric on the bottom. And I'm just going to work from right to left. It doesn't matter which way you are, which order you go, as long as it's in the correct order. You can start on the left or the right. And you can clip them. I just held them together. I might have to clip it as this piece grows larger with each of the flying geese. And so for all of these, our seams are going to be pressed to the left. And I'm making sure I'm lifting my iron as I'm pressing. I don't want to drag it and accidentally warp any of these blocks. Okay, so again, now I'm adding my next one and just lining them up. They all should match up equally, especially if your seam allowances were accurate. And I've been trying to get in the habit of backstitching at the beginning and end of all my piecing, just to keep my seams stronger. I do that with bag making, but for quilting, I don't always remember to backstitch. And I've been trying to do that since the long armor had said it helps, so your seams don't come apart. Okay, and so now we need our last flying geese on the far left. And again, I've been pressing all my seams to the left. All of them are going that way for the flying geese. And I'm excited. I'm wondering if these are going to be like part of the border, because there's a few different sections that have the flying geese rows like this. And I'm trying to give extra heat, especially on the edge where multiple pieces are coming together. Okay, so that is step 6. And now we need to add step 7. So this is our step 2, that square that we have made. That is going to go to the left. And we want the long D rectangle on top and the 2 smaller squares on the bottom. And I'm going to actually clip this one because I want my center seam to be lined up with the center of this flying geese. So I'm going to put it right sides together, but then turn it towards me so I can see just a little bit better, and make sure that if I peel this back, I'm lining up my seams. And this is the one where the rectangle was hanging over a little bit. So I'm just going to hide that in my seam allowance. I'm going to show you how I did that in 1 second. So when I clip them, you can see, if you look very, very closely, that there's a little bit of overhang here. And that's where I'm hiding it in the seam allowance. And I am going to use the smaller one or the shorter one as my guide. So I'm going to do my 1/4 inch from that smaller side, not the larger. And that's just because I don't use a scant 1/4 inch. It's too difficult for me to continue with accurately. Right, and for this one, we are pressing our seams to the left as well. All right, and you can see that I took my time and lined it up, so that center seam really does line up very nicely with the flying geese. So this is our first section, our 8A, and you should have 2 of them. Now we're moving on to section 8B, and again, I'm just going to divide all of these in half. So our first one, we need 2 A small triangles. So for Team Josie, that is the blue color. And then 2 D small triangles. And we are going to sew them. I'm going to sew both at the same time. That way I, again, saving my thread. First one acts like a leader. And then add my second one, making sure that they are lined up accurately. And then for each of these, we are pressing down to the bottom left, which is our D fabric. So for us with Josie, that's the white triangle. Okay, and if you're doing all of them at once, you should have 4 of these. And now for step 2, we need to add a D square to the left of each of these. And that is the white square. And I'm going to be very mindful while I am putting these right sides together, because sometimes I have a habit of turning them and accidentally sewing the wrong side. So if you're not clipping them, or even if you're clipping them and you happen to turn them, just be very mindful. Well, I guess when I backstitch, it got caught. So I just broke my thread. So I'm going to fix that and then come back on. Okay, so I've just re-threaded. So as I was saying, I'm going to stitch both of these. I'm making sure that I'm actually stitching the correct side. And then for both of these, we are going to press towards that D square, so towards the left. Just being extra careful as I open it, making sure I'm not tugging it and warping them. And again, you should have 4 of these. I have 2 for the tutorial. And now we are on step 3. We need to add a D rectangle to the top of each. So this is going to be similar to 8A, where when we attach them, so I'll put them right sides together, there's going to be a little bit of overhang. Or at least for me, if you're doing a scant 1/4 inch, you might not have any overhang at all. But if you do, don't worry about it. Like I said before, it's going to get caught up in that, or hidden in that seam allowance when we attach them to something else. So again, I'm just lining up my edges and chain stitching these together. And for both of these, we will be pressing our seams up towards that rectangle. Oop, sorry. I accidentally hit the camera, the pole that's holding the camera as I was reaching for this. Great. Press this one. Okay, so now we're on step 4, which is this one over here, and we're only making 1 of them. So you'll need 2. So 1 of these I'm going to set to the side, and now we need a large D square, and we need to sew it to the top. So I have the large square here, and it's going to go like this, right sides together. So you can clip it. These they should line up perfectly because it's die cut, so it should be the same exact length as the rectangle below it. And you don't have any seams, so I'm not clipping or anything. I'm just gonna hold it as I go. All right, and same thing, this one here is going to be pressed towards that top large square. So I'm pressing the back, and I'm actually pressing because it was folded. I'm just kind of hitting the seam a little bit too, or the crease, I should say, not the seam. Okay, and then give it a nice press from the front. And that's what I was talking about here. There's a crease, but I'll have to probably fully press that out later. Okay, and I'm just going to set this to the side for a minute because now we're on step 5. So we need an A square. So and we're making 2 of these, so 1 for the video, and a D triangle on top, which is the white fabric, and then an F triangle, which is my pink, to the right hand side. And I'm just going to start with the top. You can do the top or the right, whichever one is more comfortable for you to do first. And again, it should line up perfectly because they are die cut. Okay, and then so for this one here, this is the triangle that is on top. So we're pressing our seams, or actually, sorry, we're pressing our seams towards the square. Okay, so carefully fold that open. And now I'm going to add my F triangle to the right-hand side. I'm just lining up the bottom first, and then the top should line up all the way up. Okay, and then for this one, our seams are going to be pressed to the right towards that F triangle. Gently open that without tugging. Okay, so now for step 6, we need to add our large C triangle. So which is our green for this colorway. And I'm going to put them right sides together, and I'm just flipping it towards me. They should line up if your seams are accurate. And this one, I just broke my clip. I'm going to clip this in the center just because there is that center seam. And I don't want it to wiggle. I am hoping that comes out good and I don't mess up that point. Okay, and then for this, we are pressing towards the C triangle, so towards the top. And gently open that. I love making this style block. I don't know why, I just think it looks so nice. And you can see that I'm glad I clipped that center because that point really looks nice. Okay, and now we are on step 7. We need to take our step 3, which is our piece that we have left over, and we are adding that to the top. So if I move this out of the way, it's going to look like this. Should have I know it's correct because I have my large C triangle and then my D rectangle up top, and we put them right sides together. And even though there's a seam here, there's no seam on that triangle piece. So I don't need to worry so much about points. Clip them if you want. I just held them in place until I got to here. All right, and so now for this, we are pressing our seams down. They're going to be towards that C triangle. Right, and then gently open that up. And it's a large piece, so try not to tug. If you want, you can give your other seams a quick press. I have a piece here I'm just going to trim out. It's where the edge frayed, it came up through. I like to do like the cleanup on my quilt if I can as I'm going. And now we just need to add our last piece. So step 8, the piece that we just sewed. So step 7 to the right of step 4. So I know it's correct because my large D square will be up here. And then the C triangle is the bottom, right? The A's match up. And I have 2 seams that are going to need to be aligned, this center seam and this seam down here where the A's. So I am going to put them right sides together, turn it so I can really see it, and then clip my edges. And if you have pressed your seams the correct direction, they should nest with each other. So I'm just trying to make sure that they actually do. And then line up the rest. Again, up here, my D square that's on the bottom is slightly bigger with the seam allowance. So I'm going to hide that extra in the seam allowance. Just be mindful that I'm sewing my 1/4 inch with the fabric that's on top. If yours had matched up perfectly, you don't need to worry about that. It's just my way of making everything fit without having to trim. Okay, and this is a very large block again, so I was just taking my time being extra mindful. And then for this one, our seams are going to be pressed to the right. Again, just giving the back a good press, especially because there's a lot of seams coming together, and then gently opening. Sometimes my seams want to fold back on itself, especially this point right here in the center. I can feel it kind of wanting to fold. So I'm going to press that part first and then work my way out. And then you can see that everything is lined up pretty nicely. My points are not cut off and they match up. So that's why it was really important to line up those centers. And so now this is your 8B block. I'm trying to make it fit so large. And you should have 2 of these when you finish. All right, so we have just finished up month 8. You should have 2 sections of your 8A and 2 sections of your 8B. As always, make sure that you post a picture with your completed blocks and your flat Nancy in the Cotton Cuts Facebook group. I'll have it linked below in the description. It gives you a chance just to win some fun prizes. So I hope you found the tutorial helpful. Thank you again for following along with me. If you haven't already, I'd love if you subscribe or give the video a thumbs up. It does help me out so much and I appreciate it. See you next month. Bye.